Let's talk about the second half of scene 2. It's a short part, but it is incredibly important because we get a view inside Hamlet's mind. What is going on? What are his feelings? And that's really what this whole story is about. It's the psychology. It's looking inside Hamlet. So Hamlet has his first soliloquy. He has multiple soliloquies throughout this play. Remember from your knowledge of literary devices that a soliloquy is when he's speaking to the audience. Nobody else around him can hear him. Now, when you're in a play, you can't read inside a person's mind. If you're watching a movie, you can probably do something so that you could hear inside a person's mind, but this is a play, not that. So this is essentially the way that a play has for showing us what's going on in his mind. So he's contemplating suicide at this point, and he mentions multiple reasons why he's so upset. And when you look at this, I ask you to name one of the reasons, or the one reason in the list that I give you, that he doesn't mention for being so upset. So you look up at the top, and I've sort of underlined a couple of them here. Here he says that God has made it a law. So suicide is a sin. Okay, so he finds it cruel that suicide is sin, so that's obviously not one of the options. Here he says, my father's only been dead for 2 months. Not even 2. And he was an excellent king, as superior to my uncle as a god is to a beast. Okay, so yes, he's upset about the fact his father has just died, not even 2 months ago. And it hasn't even been 2 months, and his mother's married very quickly. Okay, not even 2 months is what he's saying. Now, the question I have there about, his mother's not taking good care of the garden. Yes, he does mention the garden, but his garden it's like a garden that no one's taking care of, and it's growing wild. He's referring to his mind. Okay, what's going on in his mind? It's like, this something that's gone to weed at this point because of all this stuff that's going on around him. So he talks about his marriage, or his mother's marriage to his uncle, and we see that he finds it a little unnatural, to say the least. Okay, his mother has married his father's brother, which he seems to find a little bit unnatural. So which lines does that fall under? So when we look at lines 143 to 144, it says, she couldn't get enough of him, yet even so, within months of my father's death. I don't even think about it. Okay, so she loved my father to the point of distraction is what he's saying there. And yet, right afterwards, she gets married to his brother. So does that say he's unnatural? Not even that quite. On lines 147 to 148, he says, even an animal would have mourned its mate longer than she did. And then in this line down here, 157 and 158, he says, oh, so quick to jump into a bed of incest. Okay, so you really could probably look at either 147, 148, or 157, 158. 147, 148 is essentially saying even an animal would have taken the time to mourn its mate, not just jumped into a new relationship. And in 157 and 158, he calls it incestuous, okay, because she's marrying his brother's technically not incestuous, but in his mind, he's his family. She's marrying another family member, and he's finding it revolting and scary at the same time. So let's stop and think about one of the lines that he refers to, and this is a very, very famous line, and it's quoted often. It's, frailty, thy name is woman. It's a popular quote from Hamlet. Based on this line, what do you think is Hamlet's reasoning? Why does he think his mother has made this mistake, this tragic mistake in marrying his uncle? So when he says, frailty, thy name is woman. And this gives you an idea of what Shakespeare's mentality was at that time as well. Okay, despite the fact she's queen, Hamlet sees her as irrational. He sees the female as, in general, as not being able to make strong decisions. She's doing this because she's a woman and she can't stand alone. She needs a man there to support her. And this gives you a look into Shakespeare's mind at the time as well. At the end, Horatio comes in. We see Hamlet's reaction to Horatio. And this tells you a little bit about the relationship. Okay, he's glad to see Horatio. Horatio is that anchor for him, that anchor of stability. So he's terribly excited to see him. All right, now we are on to scene 3. Okay, we are finished with scene 2. You're going to do the RCQ for scene 3.